Hello, this is Gene. I've started to do a new series. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be responding to one YouTuber in particular, and his name is Devon Tracy. It's somebody that I support 100%. Sometimes we don't agree on the same things, especially when it comes to the political situation in the United States. He voted for Hillary. I voted for the president, Donald Trump, before he was president, of course, and some other issues that we don't agree with. But the guy is so astute and right on probably 95% of all things that happen in this world, and it's somebody you guys should actually listen to. He may piss you off, he may say things that will offend you, but if you actually step back and research what he's having to say and give him the space to say it, then you might find yourself being educated to something more than where you were before you started when you tapped on that video. So I'm going to try to do this every week, and hopefully Devon won't get upset about it. Him and I have talked a little bit through Twitter. I think he knows me. I did a video with him years ago before the election, trying to explain to him the whole email thing about Hillary. He was very, well, the word I'm looking for. He was willing to listen, but he still ended up voting for Hillary. You know, that happens, and some of my future videos will talk about him. He recently did a great video on Jared Taylor, but I think that's going to take me a long time to get my mind to get around to talk about, since I don't script anything, I don't write anything down. I'm similar to Devon. Devon, his brain is so good that he doesn't need to do that. I just can't do it because of my issue with my stroke and all that. So I just talk from how I feel at the time I'm talking and what's in my head and my heart at that time. And to me, they are somewhat linked there. People might say that they're not, but this is how I think anyway. So I want to talk about today was a video he put out a little bit ago on Brock Turner, and the video, and I will link it below. Obviously, I hope most of you people that have me as your subscribers, my subscribers probably know who Devon Tracy is. If not, you should go to his YouTube channel. Of course, they always get flagged and all that stuff. So he's a new one now. It's called AIU Resurrection, I think it is. So it's kind of funny because he doesn't believe in the Bible, but it's kind of funny. In his mind, he's been resurrected. So the video is Brock Turner is an innocent angel who did nothing wrong. Okay. So basically in the video, Devon goes through basically Brock's statement before the trial, I guess what he probably gave to the judge in the trial. I believe back then all it was a judge jury. It was just him trying to tell him what he did, and then the judge deciding. And as you know, some of you know that he was given a 6 months sentence for sexual assault, not rape. He didn't put his dick inside her, let's say. But basically, that's based on his own evidence. If he didn't say anything in his statement, maybe he wouldn't have got that. But anyway, he was in my mind, he was very honest and open in his statement. He might have tried to fudge some of the things so he'd be less culpable, let's say. And then later on, after the trial, or I think right at the trial, the woman came out and did her own statement when she basically said she doesn't remember anything. Now, also, as Devon correctly pointed out, the judge got recalled, and he lost his position because they thought the reason he was not giving Brock Turner a more stiffer sentence was because he himself was white, and he looked at him that could have been my son. Kind of like very similar what our former president did about Trayvon Martin. He said something so stupid when it wasn't a cop that did it to him. It was another Hispanic man that did this to Trayvon Martin, who basically had all the evidence that we know that Martin or George Zimmerman was defending himself. Now, he shouldn't have followed him, and that's a different video, but that's not what we're doing about now. We're going to talk about this video. And again, I don't have any editing software, so I'm not going to go point to point, and I don't think I should do that anyway. If you want to watch, it's about 30 minutes, but it's pure Devon, and you'll like it. He's very smart. very sarcastic and humorous, and well, you'll know if you just listen to him. If you haven't listened to him before, you know what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to tell you this overall. There were times I've unsubscribed from him and I've come back with him. You know, I have this relationship with him that he doesn't know about, but it's kind of like sometimes I can't really deal with him because I wish he would just wake up to certain things, but I see that he's making that turn. But again, that's another video when we talk about Jarrett Taylor, and I want to do that. So we find out, just overarching, basically these two guys were kissing on each other at a party, and after that she doesn't remember anything. She doesn't really remember meeting him, so that's all bullshit. We have witnesses that said that they were necking on each other, so we know that that happened, and she probably does have recollection of that, but then she doesn't remember what happens after that. And there's some things that Brock Turner did there, which it's one of those like Tommy Sotomayor would say, you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. When he was still somewhat aware of what was going on in his life, and yeah, she was being willing in his mind. If you look at his statement, and I'll try to find it so you guys can watch it or read it, that she thought he was willing, and she kept saying, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. He probably, at some point, he probably should have said we shouldn't do that here and moved on. But the thing I want to talk about this, and she said she doesn't remember any of it. So, and then we find out later on she didn't want to tell her boyfriend, all that stuff. So this person had a boyfriend and still decided to go out and party. Now, we have to understand that this woman was 23 years old and Brock was 19. She was the only one that was legal to be drinking at that time. I'm not saying that he is not responsible for his actions when it comes to drinking, okay? But she went there almost like similar to me that these teachers that just got out of college, they get their teaching certificate and they go teach at a high school, and they end up having sex with 16 to 17-year-old men, sometimes 18-year-old men. But that's what we over here is, it's called sex. It's never called rape or anything like that, because they were the ones being seduced, and they have no real issues anymore. Now, recently we see more women being charged and stuff like this, and some people are getting charged and going to prison, but it's rare when it comes to that. Because most guys say, well, if a woman looked like that and wanted to have sex with me, I would do it. But anyway, but here she is, she's crawling, and she said in her statement that she knew that a lot of the freshmen there would have like braces on their cheek or on their teeth. So she's already thinking about, if I was going to teach them or kiss them, that she would have gone, when she left to go party, that she knew this might actually happen. This is while she was still sober. She hadn't been drinking anything. So she already said, I'm going to have to deal with that. So she knew that she might be doing this even though she had a boyfriend. So if you listen to her statement and you realize that she has no proof that this ever happened as far as she was sexually assaulted. Really the issue was that Brock Turner incriminated himself, and then the two Swedish guys that were on the ground that saw it happening after the part, of course. Because really what happens, and I think this is pretty much 100% true, that he was doing something like that. He said that to her, or in his statement, and at some point he felt like he was about to throw up, so he got off of her, and that's when the Swedish guys came. And just as an overall thing here, so we have these two white knights who are Swedish guys, but yet their compatriots back in Sweden is allowing people from the third world to go in and rape their own women, and nobody gets prosecuted for it. Or if they do, nothing really happens to them, and they let them stay there. So I would hope that those guys would go back to their country and try to defend their own white women. Just to say, just something on the outside there. I mean, it's great that they were there to see it and was trying to be the nice things that they did. And basically what Brock said is like, yeah, these guys came after me and they grabbed on me, and he was fearful of himself, and he tried to run away, and they got him. And then he basically did this statement. Now, I'm not saying he didn't have lawyers with him when he wrote this shit, and he wanted to try to get as much away from him for his culpability in this. But there is no proof that anything really happened. Now, unfortunately for her, since she didn't remember any of this stuff, and she had to go through the whole thing about the rape kit and all that shit, that it was violating to her. But I guess she also got Woman of the Year for what she did. But this is the point I want to make here. It's like, do we ever give the same responsibility to women at all? I mean, I've talked about this on this channel a lot. We look at women as retarded children. We just don't believe that they have any responsibility. This woman was 23 years old. She decided to go trolling because she's already been through college. And so she started, even though she has a boyfriend, she decided she's going to go trolling freshman dorms and have parties with them. For what reason? Is that she wants them to give some sort of attraction to her, that she needs that valuation that they need, that women need so much. They need other men to look at them as something they can get. And I'm not saying that what happened. If I don't, nobody really knows. Okay, and I think that if you look at the actual judgment by the judge, I guess it's probably fair. Not because there really is any proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's one of those things. Brock played a stupid game, and he had to pay for what he did. It probably doesn't mean exactly. I mean, the grime wasn't really as bad as what's going to happen in the rest of his life. He may still have money. He can still have something in his life, but everybody's going to recognize him as who he is. And the thing is, he was not convicted on rape. He was convicted on sexual assault because he put his fingers inside of her. Now, this is on his own. He admitted this. He said, "This is what I did," and she said yes. He continually had affirmative consent, according to him, that he continually asked her for consent. And this is similar. I mean, this sounds very similar to how we're teaching our boys now, that you have to ask every 5 seconds when you're having sex with somebody, that you have to ask for affirmative consent. So it sounds like he probably knew this shit. He said, "I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to keep asking for this." But he was stupid that he probably should have took her back to their dorm, and whatever happened, happened. But the problem I want to tell you about, and again, this is not really a response to Devon himself. I'm great he brought this out. Some other people have brought this out a couple years ago when this happened. Janice Flamingo, Dr. Janice Flamingo, talked about this and said it was pretty much a travesty. And she was like the only person in academia that actually did anything about this. So it's not really a response to Devon, because he was great in what he said, but we didn't really talk about female nature here and how we allow this to happen, that how we look at women differently. And you know what? Maybe overall we should say that women should be protected, that they need to be somewhat railed in. But this idea that she was basically trolling freshman dorms to make herself feel better about herself, because apparently she wasn't being taken care of well enough by their boyfriend. I would like to know who his boyfriend was, and why she was trolling a Stanford party. Was she trying to look to get up to next level because she wasn't get what she wanted from her boyfriend? Maybe not sexually, but maybe not financially, and said, maybe I need to find some more people. I have not really researched her much. I don't want to find out much about her. Maybe she went to Stanford. I mean, she clearly said in her statement that she lost she lost some of her drinking ability because she was no longer in college. And here was this freshman who just get on campus, who's 19 years old, and you're hooking up with them in a party that everybody sees that you're nixing or kissing with each other. And like every other people does at this time, somebody says, "Hey, you want to go back to my place?" And one says yes, one says no, and they start walking back to the place. Now, maybe after all that time, after all the drinking, that she all of a sudden became unconscious. I don't think that happened. I think that at some point she probably looked that way. So again, it's one of those things that to me, there's no real victim here. They're both stupid for what they did, and this could happen when you drink too much. That this might happen. Some miscommunication happens, and then normally what happens in this, it happened with the parallel is to Jameis Winston, is that he brought Eric and Klisman back to his dorm, and then she had sex with him. Of course, how stupid people are, some of his teammates just took a picture of it or a video of it, and this is before he became the Heisman Trophy winner. He drops her back off, and then she's talking to her friends and said, "You know what? You probably got raped." And then she starts thinking this, and here was another person had a boyfriend that was coming into town that night, and she wanted to say, "Well, I had no responsibility when I'm having sex with this person. I was one that was the person that was the victim, and Jameis had all the stuff." So again, we start looking at this, and eventually, after all this, the state said no. Everything. But again, at the end of the day, because they know they're going to get something from it, she still got something back from the university because the university didn't want to deal with it anymore. So they gave her something like almost $750,000. Now, did she get a whole lot of that? Probably not. And it's too bad that she had to leave Florida State to go somewhere else. Whatever. Her name wasn't even out there until eventually it came out. Somebody found her name. I'm not saying this is the same type of thing, but it's just strange that we look at women who are at the same age or even older or might be legal to actually drink, that they have no responsibility at all of this. They're always the victim, and that men are always the perpetrator. I'm not saying that she was perpetrating anything on him, but she clearly perpetrated something on him after the event when she knows nothing of what happens. She's told by the cops, this might have happened to you. Then we have to do all this stuff because we think this might have happened to you, and then you believe in your mind that you're raped, you were violated. Or she's in so much denial, which seems to be another female trait, that she knows what happened, but she was in so much denial that she couldn't tell her boyfriend that she was cheating on him. And this is something that happens all the fucking time when it comes to women, especially women that are away from their boyfriends, they're going to colleges away from their boyfriend, that they have all these guys that are coming up to them, or if they're a girl that goes in the military and they have all these guys that are looking at them, and they realize that their value goes higher and higher and higher, and they don't really care about their boyfriend back then, but at the same time, they don't want to admit that, yeah, they were out there looking for someone to replace him. This idea that men are the ones that are always going out looking for tail, and in a lot of ways we're that age, but women have this harem around them all the time. Some have it, or 6 or 7 deep of guys that they can call up at any times. You have the guys, the nice guy that you just want to talk to feel your feelings, and then you have the bad boy that you want to have sex with, and you have the other ones that are about the same, different levels that women have. And they have them on standby all the fucking time. And also, the culture's changed so much that women have become more like guys when it comes to hookup culture. It just didn't start, it started, I guess my generation, it started more like that, but then we had to back off a little bit because the old AIDS thing came out. Then we found that was still mostly in the homosexual side. It wasn't so many heterosexual people that were getting affected with that. And then it's come back again now to where, even though we're trying to be more conservative in a lot of ways, we still have this hookup culture, but also now we're trying to back off of that because guys are worried that if we do anything, that we could call rapist. And this talks about the Columbia mattress girl who claimed that she was raped, walked around, and then the academia backed her, and a senator brought her to the State of the Union, and all this other bullshit. And then we have it goes on all the time where girls lie about shit like this, and sometimes they'll come out eventually say that yeah, they lied about it. Women need, if you want to be equal, and this is just my last statement on this, if you want to be equal in this society, then you need to take responsibility for your actions. If she was clearly out, then she doesn't know what happened to her. And I think that maybe at the end of the day, the final verdict was right. Again, he played a stupid prize. But again, is he really accountable? I guess he has to be. It's like Devon makes up, and it's a very good thing. If he was driving a car and he was 19, he was drunk out of his mind, and he ran over somebody, he would be responsible. He was stupid because he was with them, and you can make the inference that maybe if nobody was watching him, that he might have had sex with her while she was unconscious. That's not really how the legal system should work, but I think that's probably why they wanted him to be prostituted. The other part that comes along with it, when they said he's white and white privilege and he has come from a rich family and he goes to Stanford, that's all bullshit. That's all identity politics. That's all bullshit that they just want to pull on. It doesn't really matter because we could have the same issue when we talk about Jamin Winston, who was a black guy. I was on the same area with this. I will never believe a woman. Obviously, if my daughter comes up and I've always just pretty much trusted what she would say, I believe what she have to say. But if a woman tells me that she was out partying with somebody and was with another and they were all kissing, all that shit, and then after 5 seconds she doesn't realize what she did after that, or she's in denial of it, then I know she's hiding something. And I know this woman is hiding somebody. And now she has all these people behind her that are just lifting her up and making her more of a victim, and actually applauding her for being a victim. We got to get past that. You know, the whole thing is don't be a victor, don't be a victim, be a victor. I think that women need to understand this. No matter how you say it, though, they think that we're being misogynist and saying that, oh, we're rape apologists. Well, I'm not saying anything happened there that couldn't have been considered sexual assault. What I'm saying is that there's something here more, and I'm glad that Devon talked about it. And like I said, in the future, I'll talk about Jared Taylor and some of the other things he talked about, maybe next week. I got to get my thoughts together on that to see where I think. It's nice to see that he talked about Jerry Taylor and his appreciation of him, because Jared Taylor is a very important thing, whatever movement this is that some people are in. I want to thank you for watching, and if you have any comments below, please let me know. We can talk about this. Again, when we're talking about Brock Turner, I think that the best thing you can do is read both statements, because that's all we have, okay? There was nobody there that actually saw the event. These guys that walked up was after the event, when he was up trying to puke out of his guts. And then I would like to understand what the Swedish guy said. If he said that he was standing there and then he grabbed him, because a lot of people said he just saw these kids, these other Swedish guys, and he ran away. According to Brock, that's not what happened. The guys came up and tried to physically hold him, and he didn't know what the hell was going on, so he ran away from him, and then he was restrained after that. Okay, let's talk about it in the comments. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.